I never forget the look on her face when she told me she knew. She knew that I was watching her. And she knew what I'd seen. This all started about 6 months back, when Omo's food stand suddenly became the biggest attraction in the marketplace. People would line up every morning and night for her pepper soup, grilled plantains, and spicy yam stew. She made things taste richer, sharper, deeper, like you could taste the whole land in one bite. I'd known Omo my whole life. She was a quiet woman, tall, with sharp eyes and skin like polished mahogany. She didn't talk much, just nodded or laughed whenever someone praised her cooking. There was a calm way she had about her, a steadiness in her movements that made you trust her. So when people started murmuring about feeling strange after eating her food, I didn't believe it. The whispers grew over time. People would say things quietly, after dark, or over hushed conversations by the water pump. I ignored them. It was easy to brush off until one evening, when my cousin, Kojo, ate a bowl of Omo's yam stew. He was fine that night, and we laughed, but then he started acting strange the next day. His skin looked pale, his eyes hollow and distant. He said he'd had strange dreams, ones he couldn't quite remember, like there was a shadow pressing down on his mind. He never did get better after that. He would wander around the village with a dazed look, staring off into the distance, and never ate Omo's food again. I knew something wasn't right. That was when I started watching her. It felt ridiculous at first, but the more I watched, the stranger things seemed. I'd hide behind the bushes near her stand, or linger around when she was cleaning up after everyone had left. One night, I saw her do something I couldn't explain. She waited until everyone was gone, humming to herself. Then she reached into a small, red pouch tied to her waist and pulled out a handful of something that looked like dried leaves. She sprinkled them into her pot, stirring slowly with a deep focus, whispering words I couldn't hear. Her face looked soft, almost peaceful, like she was singing a lullaby. It was that night that I realized something was definitely wrong. But I couldn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? Amma was respected in the village, well loved even. So I kept watching, hoping that somehow, I'd understand what she was doing. For days, I kept returning. And every night, I saw her add something new to her pot. One night, she pulled out a pinch of grey powder that seemed to dissolve instantly into the broth. Another night, she used more, dried flowers. But it wasn't until the 5th night that she saw me. I was hiding too close this time, crouched behind her stand, and she turned abruptly, her eyes locking onto mine. I froze, heart pounding so hard I thought she could hear it. Her face softened, and she stepped closer, that same calm, almost affectionate smile on her face. She looked at me like I was a child who had been caught playing in the wrong yard. "I know you've been watching," she said, her voice soft but steady. She wasn't angry. In fact, she sounded amused. Curiosity is a dangerous thing, you know. I opened my mouth to say something, but I couldn't find the words. Omo's face stayed calm, but her eyes held something I didn't understand. She was still smiling when she spoke again. "You see, not everyone understands my food. It's an old way of cooking, something my grandmother taught me. Not for the faint-hearted." I didn't understand what she meant. My head was spinning. I was scared, but I forced myself to speak. What are you putting in the food?" She laughed softly, a sound that didn't reach her eyes. "You wouldn't understand. But it makes people feel things. It brings them dreams, it shows them parts of themselves they didn't know existed." I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about what she said, the way her eyes had looked at me, knowing, as if she could see straight through me. The next morning, I told my best friend, Bodu, what I'd seen. He didn't believe me, of course, but he agreed to help. We decided to go to the elders, even though I knew they might laugh. To my surprise, they didn't laugh at all. The elders had seen many things over the years, and some of them had their own suspicions about Oma. They asked us to keep quiet and said they'd take care of it. But that day, they made us watch. As soon as the sun set, they gathered everyone in the village square, and Oma was summoned. She arrived, her head held high, her face calm, as if she knew this day was coming. The elders questioned her, but she only smiled, her hands folded neatly in front of her. She didn't deny anything. They searched her stand, found the pouches of strange leaves and powders, the dried flowers, and bundles of twisted roots. Oma stood still, her eyes on the crowd, watching everyone, almost as if she were studying each face. Finally, the eldest of them all, Nanaya, asked her, "Why did you do this? What are these things you put in our food?" Oma's smile faded, and for the first time, her face looked tired. "I never meant any harm," she said softly. "These things, they are a part of me. They bring people closer to themselves. They make them see things they would have otherwise missed." She looked up, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Some of you have felt it, haven't you? You've seen things, dreams that opened doors you didn't know were there." There was a murmur through the crowd. Some people nodded, uneasy. Others were silent, shifting nervously. Oma's voice grew softer, almost mournful. "Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed," she said. "But I never forced anyone. They chose to eat." The elders told her she could no longer stay, and Oma accepted their decision without a fight. She left that evening, disappearing into the forest, her face as calm as it had been when she first arrived. I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. Days passed, and Oma's absence left a strange, hollow feeling in the village. People missed her food, missed the way she made them feel, even if they couldn't explain why. The nights grew restless, and whispers about her food turned into strange rumors. Some people claimed they could still smell her cooking at night, drifting through the air. Others said they woke up feeling different, as if something was watching them, or following them in dreams. And every now and then, someone would look pale and distant, just like Kojo had. Their eyes would go blank, and they'd speak of dreams they couldn't remember but couldn't shake either. People still gathered at the market, but Oma's stand was left untouched, abandoned, as if waiting for her to come back. And sometimes, on quiet nights, when the wind was right, I could swear I smelled her pepper soup too.